In this life, no one wants to stay down. We all want to progress, and that's why we are searching, but there is one thing that we ignore, and it is important. It's having life standards, personal standards. Do you have standards in your life? Today we are going to see people who had standards in their lives. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he wouldn't defile himself with the portion of the king's delicacies, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the chief of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. While we can't be certain, most scholars would put Daniel in his early teen years when he was taken to Babylon. So, we likely have a teenage boy who is abruptly removed from his hometown and taken to a foreign pagan nation to serve a pagan king. Quite an overwhelming event for a boy of that age. Daniel, however, wasn't shaken. Reading in chapter 1, verses 5 and 6 denote that King Nebuchadnezzar provided these Jewish captives with a daily supply of food, delicacies, and wine. Notice verse 8, however. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he wouldn't defile himself with the portion of the king's delicacies, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the chief of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Look at the verse again. It says that Daniel purposed in his heart not to eat of the food Nebuchadnezzar had provided. The phrase that he might not defile himself suggests that the food King Nebuchadnezzar was serving was a kind of food that the Jews weren't allowed to eat. Remember that the Jews had many dietary restrictions of foods that were declared unclean. Here's my point: Daniel didn't have to uphold his Jewish standards. He was away from home, in a foreign pagan kingdom, without his parents around. He could have eaten the food without a second thought. Daniel didn't have to maintain his Jewish standards, but he did. This young boy had had the precepts of God as well as integrity so instilled in him that it mattered to him whether or not he pleased God. It didn't matter what everyone around him was doing. According to the text, only Daniel and his 3 friends refused the king's food. All the other captives ate whatever the king was offering. This didn't matter to Daniel. He wasn't going to compromise. This is an extremely important lesson for young people and adults to learn. Peer pressure is a powerful thing. It's been the cause of many young people losing their faith. As followers of Christ, we have to decide up front, just like Daniel, that we're not going to compromise our biblical principles no matter what. Just as Daniel purposed in his heart, we must also determine that whatever comes our way, we're not going to forfeit what we know is acceptable in the sight of God. Because the pressure will come. Somehow, some way you're going to get negatively influenced by your peers, co-workers, etc. But if pleasing God and living according to His will truly is important to you, as it was to Daniel, it'll be easier than you think. Decide right now that if something comes up you know is contrary to God's word, you aren't going to participate or condone that behavior. On the 7th day, when King Xerxes was in high spirits from wine, he commanded the 7 eunuchs who served him, Mehuman, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, Abagtha, Zethar, and Carcas, to bring before him Queen Vashti, wearing her royal crown, in order to display her beauty to the people and nobles, before she was lovely to look at. But when the attendants delivered the king's command, Queen Vashti refused to come. Then the king became furious and burned with anger. Most likely Vashti did not want to expose herself to the gaping and lust of a roomful of inebriated men. They would not have dared to touch her, nor made wolf whistles or cat calls, but they could easily undress her with their eyes. Standards will help you in decision-making, knowing how you will accept or not depending on life purposes and goals. And after a while his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me," but he refused, "with me in charge." He told her, "My master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns he has entrusted to my care. No knee is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" And though she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her or even be with her. One day he went into the house to attend to his duties, and none of the household servants was inside. She caught him by his cloak and said, "Come to bed with me," but he left his cloak in her hand and ran out of the house. Standards are the rules that you set for yourself and follow in your life. There are habits, behaviors, and things you want to be consistently doing. Standards are the rules that you set for yourself and follow in your life. There are habits, behaviors, and things you want to be consistently doing. Our personal standards can be recognized in how we treat others and how we expect to be treated by others. It can be recognized in the way we dress and manage our life, health, and financial matters. Standards are essentials for having strong self-identity and understanding your goals. If you want to understand yourself, develop a clear list of standards. They will reveal amounts of knowledge about your values, ideas of success, and goals. If you set your standards too low, it may cause you to lose sight of your mission. Before drafting your standards, consider making your purposes and goals clear. Blessed are the undefiled in the way, who walk in the law of the Lord. Blessed are they that keep his testimonies, and that seek him with the whole heart. They also do no iniquity, they walk in his ways. Remember in the beginning God. Before setting your standards, let God be the foundation.